Welcome into Moving the Chains, brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. I'm Kevin Thomas alongside Drell Hendricks. We've got a great interview today, a very special guest, the new head coach of the Gilbert Indians, Ozzie Exume. Coach, how you doing today?
I'm great. I'm blessed. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited to answer some questions and chop it up.
We appreciate you having on. As always, if you guys are just tuning in, check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains, website movingchains.com, our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Coach Exume was hired in February. He's been the offensive line coach at Gilbert for the past 8 seasons. Prior to that, he played collegiately at Newberry. Coach, let's just start here. How has the transition been going from OL coach, coaching basketball, in earlier time of the year, now you're full-time head football coach there at Gilbert?
Well, you know how it is. It's just really easy. No, it's been crazy. It's been crazy. It's been a lot of text messages and phone calls, when the story dropped on the 20th, for like 24 to 48 hours, I was the most popular man in the United States. I felt like I was, the phone, the Facebook, the Twitter, all that. But now that part's over with, it's been fun just trying to get our staff done and get our scheduling done, for spring practice and summer. Our season schedule is already done. So now it's just trying to get just ahead on things that in the past I never had to worry about, like trying to order this or get this ordered and make sure our team is well equipped for the spring and the summertime. So,
Coach, before we jump into the fun stuff of the season, I want to ask a little bit about you as a coach, your background, your playing career, and things like that, and how'd you get to this point as a head coach at Gilbert?
So I didn't start playing football till about 8th grade. I was kind of like a street football legend a little bit, and then I played in 8th grade. I actually got kicked off of my team in 9th grade. So in street football, there's no summer workouts. So you just show up and play the game. In high school, that's an expectation. So I didn't go to any of the summer days. I show up on the first day and coach is like, and you are who? And so I got sent home. I went home crying. I was like, man, it's stupid. I don't blah, blah, blah. But I wrote a letter. I wrote a nice little letter, and he let me back on the team. And from there, it was great. And so I played throughout high school in Georgia, and then I went to Newberry College and had a great career. Got hurt a decent bit, which was kind of new, and that had its battles and all that. But after college, I was ready to coach. I wanted to be a coach since 7th grade. I felt like that was my thing. I love sports, man. You'll catch me in the springtime. I'm at baseball games, soccer games, softball games. I'm just a sports nut. I love it. And so once I got a chance to coach the lead part, he gave me a shot. He took a risk on me. He made me a JV coach for 1 year and then a varsity coach after that. I fell in love with just the hustle and bustle, the film watching, the game planning of the work, and then just the coaching environment. It's been great.
So, Coach, how is that staff shaping up? Are you able to retain a lot of guys from Coach Lee Park's staff? Do you have a lot of new guys coming in, or how's that kind of looking for you guys?
It's a little bit of both. So we lost the offense coordinator, Coach Warner, went to Saluda. Me and him are great friends. It's a loss that really sucks, honestly. I think, if things played out differently, it would have been a different. And then we've had some changes on the defensive end. But we're working through our DC now as Mark Minshew, and I think he's going to be great. He's very excited. He's been on staff for 8 years now, and he's been coaching for teen amount of years. And so we're bringing in a few new folks, and not to really change what we've been doing, but just spice things up a little bit. And so some change is good. And so I'm excited. Our staff is going to be great, and our staff is going to just continue the great strides that we have made.
Coach, I want to ask you about change. You spent your career as a high school coach at Gilbert exclusively. What are some advantages and disadvantages? Because you don't really see it too often, to where that you spend your time one there and then you become a coach. What do you think is going to help you? What's going to hurt you? Going forward and being only at that one school.
Well, that's a great question. About that. I'll say, from the point of helping me, I know Gilbert and Gilbert knows me, so I started off as a primary school teacher, and I'll tell you this, there's a special place in heaven for middle school, primary school teachers.
Oh yeah.
Because I was 22 and I was like, man, I'm excited. I'm a coach, high school kids. But from 8 to 3, I was teaching 4K through second grade, and it was crazy. And so, but the fun side is freshmen now at Gilbert High School were my first second graders at the primary school. And so I've seen them grow and go, I guess, 180 in terms of now they're playing sports for us. A couple of them played a basketball for me this past year. And I think that's the fun part. So I've been entrenched. I'm a city boy from Georgia who's kind of like in this country town of a Gilbert. And I've kind of, just ingratiated in my family too. I have 2 young kids and they're at games almost every night. And I think this town is so special and Friday night is so great. I think there's just a safety in knowing how this town operates and how they expect things from their program and their coaches. I guess the disadvantage is the unknown, and maybe that's not a bad thing. I don't think for right now. Some other schools they run things some different ways, but really I've been, taught and groomed in this role. And I feel like, I can continue our progress and growth, especially as we've gone from a 3A team to 4A to probably in a couple of years a 5A team as our kids grow and our school grows. I feel like the blueprint's been set by a great coach. And my job is to kind of build on that, but build it my way. And so I think it's going to be a fun transition. So the disadvantage for me is just not knowing or not having an experience somewhere else to kind of put, 2 or 3 mindsets in there. But the beauty of it is, if you think about last year's staff at Gilbert, so including our head coach, had 4 previous head coaches on that staff.
Sure.
So I got that feel from them, and I've had a combos, and I still talk to my high school coach. And so there's still things that kind of happen, I grow with and see. And so I hope that kind of answers that.
That's perfect.
So, Coach, for people who maybe haven't seen Gilbert play the last couple of years or aren't familiar with your style, what do you guys want to do on offense and defense as far as maybe scheme-wise, and maybe what's kind of going to be the identity of your football program?
So we're going to be tough, and that's what every coach says. Oh, we're going to be tough and physical. Talk is cheap in my world. And, we can say I'm going to be tough, but your kids have to really exude that. And so I think just our mindset, man, our kids they're low key. They have that chip on. We're surrounded by these bigger schools that we feel like get all this stuff, and their stadium has this, and our kids like, well, we ain't got this, and we ain't got that. And so in the past, we've played these bigger teams, and it's been like, all right, that nice glitz and glamour ain't gonna save you now. And so we continue that mindset of being tough and physical. We will run the football, whether you like it or not, and you're going to learn to figure us out. And we find ways to put our best players in situations to be physical and to play towards their strength. Like, I think 6 of our 7 or 8 years that we've been at a Gilbert, we've had at least 2,000-yard rushers. In that same breath, we've had a 4,000-yard passer, multiple 3,000-yard passers. So how we used to stay in the offensive room, they can get beat whichever way they want. They can just choose it. And so we want to have that flexibility to throw. So, we've had a 4,000-yard guy, and we've been a team that's ran it 70% of the time. And so we're going to be a lot of formations, motions, and then at the end of the day, it's going to be our best players are making plays against the opposing team's best players having to make plays 65 or 70 times a game. On the defensive end, we're going to be strategically aggressive, and we're going to just make sure that we put pressure on the quarterback, A, and B, make high school kids have to second guess their jobs. This isn't college or pros. These guys they're in the classroom for most of their day. And so there's so much that they can cover and learn from. So we want them to second guess their rules, to second guess their jobs, and have doubt in their game plan. And that allows us as players and as coaches to coach freely and our players just to flat out play freely. So.
You mentioned Coach Leapart. Obviously you're following in his footsteps, and he was a great coach. But who are some other coaches that you model your style after and have been big influences on your career?
So Coach Todd Wofford, he was my high school coach my senior year at Central, and he's now at Meadow Creek in Georgia. So I played for 3 different head coaches in high school. So our first coach, Dennis Rowland, he passed away after our football season. And then Ed Stokes, who was the quarterback's coach for Connor Shaw at Flowery Branch, was our coach for 2 years. And then Coach Wofford came in from Gainesville High School. And so we went from like a pro style offense to a true spread to a wing tee to another spread.
Wow.
And so I was like, man, if this is high school, I don't know what college is going to be like. And so, but he opened up my eyes to this mindset offensively of pace and space. So not necessarily trying to scheme up teams, but put your best players in space and play fast. And so kind of under that, we went from throwing it probably 70 times all season last year to throwing it 48 times a game. And it was kind of crazy, but that kind of taught me just a lot of things about how, a passing offense can actually work. He also taught me, another coach is Coach Darian Dorsey. So my senior year, I wasn't a diva. I'm not going to say that, but I was feeling to myself a little bit. And Coach Dorsey was really that coach that gave me some humble pie very early in that season. And what it was, is it taught me how to be a good teammate. And kind of know that the impact of me being our best player can have both a negative and a positive. And so in high school, those two, and Coach Allen, my basketball coach, who was just an amazing role model, an amazing coach, and he taught us, because we had a really good basketball team, and he kind of taught us how to handle personalities. And I think in high school sports now, that's a really important job. And so he had some really good players. One drafted in 2000, and God, it's been a little while, but maybe 2013 or 14, drafted in the first round of the NBA draft, like that type of talent. And He was able to make everybody just work in cohesion and push every player. And so college-wise, Coach Knight and Coach Swag, 2 very important coaches for me. Coach Fry as well was my tight ends coach. He played at a USC. Coach and Williams as well. Just the importance of the small things. And then in my current coaching staff, Coach Mark Cagle was big. Try to balance faith and football, and how to be a really good coach to these kids while coaching them hard, but not losing you in your coaching, if that makes sense. And so I think just the beauty of it is I've worked with some great coaches. I learned. So my first post-college experience with a coach was David Bennett at River Bluff. Right. So I student taught there, and he had left Coastal, and we would sit down. I just asked him questions, and he would sit down, and prior to that, I knew him as the cats and dog guy. I was like, hey, that's a cats and dog guy. And I was like, well, that's what, but I sat down and learned so much from about just his experience. And I text him and call him now still. And so I've truly been blessed to just be placed in places that had some dang good coaches. And my job was just to be a sponge and learn as much as I could. And I try to do that.
Coach, I'm sure it's, a tough decision. You've been an OL coach. You've been an assistant for 8 years now. How did you come to, the decision and just know that you were ready to take that next step and be a head coach somewhere, whether it's Gilbert or, wherever it could have been, I guess?
Well, this might sound cocky, and my wife thinks I'm cocky. I'm confident. I really am confident. I believe in me. Like, I really do believe in my ability to help kids and get kids to trust me. I'm not in this for my glory or I don't care about me in this whole process. I just feel like in the position that I could be in, I know how much I work and how hard I can work and push our kids and young guys to be better. And so, 4 years ago, I became the head basketball coach, and I had to take some lumps, not the wins and losses, but like the organization, so now I'm in charge of planning this, of scheduling this, of doing this, of making that phone call, of this parent's mad. And so for a year or two, I was like, bro, this is ridiculous. But I learned kind of how to process that. And also, I'm only as good as the coaches that work with me. Like some coaches that feel like that they're the guru and the smartest people in the room. If I'm the smartest person in my room, I'm in a bad room. And so my job is to make sure I hire folks that have been in a longer time than me, and the same way can help push me. Like our whole coaching staff, our mindset is simple. These kids, and we're preaching to all these kids to work hard, to push it, but we must be doing that same thing. And there's some sacrifices that take place in that. I get that. But we must be willing to work harder than we're asking them to. And so I just knew in this time, I'm 31, 2 young kids, a beautiful wife. And I feel like right now I'm not at my peak of being a coach, but I'm working, I'm getting there. And I feel like I'm right now in a spot where I can be a leader of men to a common goal. And so I know that I won't be the best coach in the world, but I know it's going to be tough finding a person that's willing to work harder and sacrifice more to be able to have these kids be successful in this sport and be successful in life. So I feel like with all that, I was ready.
Love that answer, Coach. We've crossed into March, daylight savings time, all that fun stuff starting to warm up. So spring ball's on the agenda. We talked off air. You're going to start off May 1st. Have you finalized that schedule? And what are you looking forward to learning about your team during the spring, practices that you're going to be holding there?
So I'm hoping to finalize the spring practice stuff maybe this week. It's kind of funky because school gets out a little bit earlier and all that jazz. But truly, this whole spring ball is, and I hope if our kids are listening to this, they're going to probably be mad, but it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. I'm going to see if these kids are still about it like they say. And so it's one of these things where it's going to be hot outside, obviously, and we'll do our 3 days in helmets, but we're going to be physical for 8 days, and we're going to see if these kids are willing to, go through your physical drills, your tackling stuff. And truly, my biggest thing about just sports in general is competition. And so when we go team and it's first O against the first defense, who is willing to win every single rep? And I'm not talking about as a whole, as a team, individually, that left tackle on that DN or backer, or that cornerback on that a wideout. And I'm going to put strategic things in practice that allow kids to compete, and the spotlight's going to be on them. Because on Friday night, on third down and short, and your best wideouts out there, and they have to make, or maybe it's third down and medium, and they have to make this play, the spotlight's going to be on y'all too. It ain't going to be a secret. And can you step up and make those plays? And so physicality and competition is huge. And then on the surface, seeing where our roster fits. We did graduate a lot of guys with the defensive end, so there's a lot of playing time for guys that were part-time starters or part-time players, or guys that weren't playing varsity at all. And so I want to see who is willing to work every day, and whether it's full pads or helmets, who is willing to work for time to have us, okay, let's see how he does in 7-on-7 in the summertime. And can he build on this strong spring and have a stronger summer? And so we got some really good players. And so there's some players that we don't have questions about, but there's some, so with our quarterback had graduated, so that's a huge thing. That's a 3,000-yard passer. That's gone. Our defense has lost both starting corners, and our D-line, the whole 3 guys that started on the D-line are all gone. And so that's one Shrine Bowl guy and 2 Metro Bowl guys. So there's some loss there, but offensively, 3 linemen are back, our backfield's back, our tight end's back. There's a couple of receivers gone, but there's some guys back. So we feel good about our depth, but there's some folks that's got to show something in spring.
Coach, we had a chance to see you guys play last year. You had a really great football team, but you mentioned you're going to lose, Drake Braddock, Caleb Streesey, some guys like that.
Yeah.
Who are some guys coming back that you are really looking forward to maybe taking that next step and being big-time playmakers for you on both sides of the ball?
Well, Crew Morris was huge for us last year, and he's back as a senior. Connor Gooding, huge for us last year. So both our backs are back, and I think in the world of trying to figure out who we're going to be, well, it's pretty easy if you got 2,000-yard backs coming back. And so both backs are back, and that's huge. So the O-line are returning 3 guys back. I think that is huge. Me being the offensive line guy, that's the position where we have to win Friday night out and be able to really set the tone and be a physical team up front. And then, Knox McFarland, who came in last year, so our starting Mike had gotten hurt. And so he came in early in the year last year, and he was kind of like, it took him a little bit to figure out this is varsity ball, and his leadership and just ability to keep us organized on the defensive end is so huge. And so now he's coming into spring as the guy. And so now it's about him taking in that next role. Wynn Metz, who started for us at safety as a sophomore last year, he's a dude. He's a football player. He's tough, had over 130 tackles and 3 or 4 picks. He makes plays. And Gray Gunner, who started last year as well as a sophomore, and now he's coming in the whole offseason knowing that he's a starter, that he's a guy, that he's going to come in and be ready to play. So there's so many pieces that we have of guys that, like 4 or 5 of the kids I named are not seniors, right? So they're sophomores, and so I think there's some really good pieces, but I didn't name 22 players or 44 players, right? And so the whole puzzle has to come in together, and I feel very good about that.
You're in a unique situation here where Coach Leapart is moving on as the district AD, and not a situation where he was fired or replaced, and you had a good team from last year going into this year. Yeah. What are some things that you're looking forward to in the offseason to implement your culture, not necessarily change about the program, but have a great imprint and kind of just change the direction a little bit to kind of separate yourself from Coach Leapart?
Well, that's a great question. And Coach Leapart, I owe him a whole lot to who I am now and what I will be able to do. And like you said, a lot of the blueprint has been laid out and set. And so a lot of things that we're doing is a continuation. I think our biggest thing is, I'm a little more hip, so we're gonna play some music, and we're gonna kind of have a vibe at practice a little bit, and nothing like that's needed. But I think there's just a different energy about that when kids can, kind of be in that mindset and knowing that there's going to be noise on Friday night as well. So like that same thing, can you focus within your favorite song being played, and can you focus on your job, right? I just think we're just going to be, my personality is I'm not quiet. I'm very kind of outgoing. I'm going to be loud a little bit, and I'm going to be very much energized, and I'm going to scream happy or scream mad. Like I'm going to scream. And so, but I want our kids to have a fire for playing. And that doesn't mean that every day is going to be great and every day is going to be, peaceful or we're going to be perfect every day. But I think our biggest thing is we're going to be super excited every day, and I'm going to push that home every single day. I'm going to push guys to be leaders even more so. I think that we had guys that grew into leaders, but I'm going to really challenge some of our players to take a leap of faith and really be a leader. Like, we're in this mindset, this world of like high school kids are all friends and they don't want to step on each other's toes, and bump that. Like, there's a line, and I remember telling a teammate in college, I was a captain, and I was like, we're homeboys. This is great. But once that game starts, this is strictly business. Like, I'm trying to win. And so if I have to yell at you to get you to focus, I'm going to do that. It's not personal, but that's the job at hand. And so I'm trying to grow these kids in a situation where it's not about yelling and screaming at your teammate, but setting just an example as a person, but also having that courage to call out your teammate. And we had the same conversation this afternoon in the weight room. I said, guys, look, I'm not calling anybody out. But if we walk around and I see a guy skipping a set and the reps are 5 reps and you're doing 4, and your group member saw you and didn't say anything, you're just as bad as him. And y'all are sour. So if you're willing to skip a rep on March 11th, then you're willing to take a play off on November 1st. That's going to happen. And so, because that type of mindset and that quitter or that skipper type of mindset, that's in you now. And so really push our kids to kind of take more ownership in what they're doing. Like as coaches, we take a lot off our kids' plates, but kids need to take the ownership of, we're not the only ones that are practicing at 8 o'clock in the morning in the summertime in the heat. Like y'all are too. So take some ownership in what is going on. And I don't want to hear nothing about, he's just a sophomore. I don't want to hear that. Like we have no time at a waste. And I said in my press conference, this isn't a rebuild. This is not how this is working. And you said it, like we were very good last year, so this isn't a rebuild. This is a continuation of greatness. And we have not won a lower state or state. And that's the 2 things on my mind. Like every morning, all right, how do we get there? And so is it changing up our workout today? Is it maybe not having a tougher lift? Maybe it's bringing somebody in to speak on this day that can really trigger our kids' minds and have them appreciation for what they're doing. Or is it checking their grades and making sure our kids are holding up their end in the classroom? So I'm kind of just, I'm driven by how close we are. And I think our kids are going to just feel that, and they're going to feel it for themselves. And I hope that's what pushes them forward.
It's an interesting time for you to take over, Coach. You guys are, moving to 4A, moving to kind of a little of a new region there. Your schedule's already out for next year. Kind of a 2-part question here. Are you excited to be able to coach against some new schools you hadn't played before? Yeah. And then also that out of conference is pretty tough as well. Was that kind of strategic to get you ready for that conference record, or how did that kind of come about for you guys also?
To that second question, I don't know about strategic. I talked to the coach and Lee part about it, and he was like, "Well,
it is what it is, Coach.
It is what it is." And I think he knows me in the sense of we ain't scared of nobody. Like this ain't we've played Lexington, we've played every team on our schedule, I think, except for North Augusta, I think Midland Valley, and Wilson. And so I think all the other teams, like in the past 8 years, we've played in some sort. And so it's new in terms of being in a region, but it's not new in terms of the kids. I'm really excited about it. I'm just excited about just a chance to, for so long being a 3A school, always little old Gilbert. And I just feel like, yeah, that might be true because we had 1,100 kids or 1,000 kids in our school, but that's not what y'all said in 2019 when we beat Big O with Lexington, or in the years of previous, or everybody was petrified of playing certain teams, but from 2016 to 2019, we played Gray, and we beat them. And so there's so much just stuff about, we had a tough time. Our schedule was kind of tough, to actually make, because, there were some teams that refused to play us. And so, and that's fine. And that's respect. And I appreciate that. But we have kids that truly don't look at who we're playing. I always tell them, I told them as a coach, it's never about them. It's about us. Every game is about us. If we play our very best, then we're fine. Now, if we play down to them, then we're in trouble. And if we play bad, we can get beat. And so, I think there is not a lot of games that we've lost. So we lost 18 games in 8 years. But there's only a full of times that we played good football and lost, and that team was just a better team than us. And so I'm really excited, just a challenge. But I'm kind of, it don't matter. Let's just play and let's just figure it out and let's put our kids in the best spot. And if it's a game that we lose, let's learn. Especially for me, it's my first year. I'm going to learn and be better. And we're going to be as prepared as possible for all 10 games with the mindset that we're going to be mentally and physically ready to play for 15 games. And so the schedule is tough, but somebody has to play it. So let's do it.
Coach, we're a couple years removed, from COVID, and obviously through college recruiting and things like that, for high school players, and then obviously the transfer portal. Have you seen that sort of lessen, this season as we, get a couple years away from that? Or is it still kind of a situation where those college guys are hitting the portal hard and kind of overlooking the the high school players, excuse me?
Well, I should have checked and see if I had a year or two left. I think I could play a little bit still, but it was tough for a while because we had some, especially at Gilbert. So we had some kids that I truly felt like could play, and there just wasn't spots available. Like guys, are in school 24 and 25. And so, and now the NIL stuff is coming. So now being in school means that you're getting paid until you're 24 or 25. And now that's the allure of that. And that's tough. I think now that the COVID stuff, I believe it's done now, like that wave is over with. Hopefully they'll put some more college guys in our schools. We've had some coaches that came by that said, we've had a bunch of transfers and guys that came in that were on a COVID year. Now we're trying to bring in a high school kid because when you get all these transfers, there's no development. It's getting a guy that's 22 already that's got a year or two left for the play. And so the investment of an 18-year-old is huge because now it just times you up a lot better. And so hopefully we definitely have a group of kids that can play some ball on Saturday nights. And so it's one of those things where we're trying our best to, of course, to put those guys out there. At the end of the day, the recruiting game has changed a lot more on social media. So, that's that work of pushing stuff out. And that's something I'm big on and making sure that we push those guys out. At the same way, the coaches, I'm hoping, are coming back in school or asking questions about our players, about all high school kids in general. I want all high school kids that can truly play at that next level to get a shot to. And I think our biggest thing is making sure that when these coaches are coming in, that they get a product that makes them come back. And so that's the job of high school coaches, is don't sell bad goods and make sure that your kids are prepared from what they do at school, from how they act in the classroom. Don't come into a college coach. And I got friends that coach college, and, don't bring a kid that falls asleep in every class. Don't do his work. But, oh man, he's a dog. He's a dog. Yeah, he might be, but he ain't eligible. So I can help him. Don't do that, because if you bring him and they take that chance and they bring him there and he's sleeping in the classroom, he's ineligible, they ain't coming back. So that's the pressure that we put on these kids. We're gonna work our tails off to put you in a situation to play college ball. Do your part. Do your part. And so that's the classroom. That's how you act. That's the people that you associate with. And that's how you represent yourself on the field. I'm not saying that you got to be perfect and not have any flags or not drop a pass, but how you carry that name on the front and the name on your back on that field is really important. And, I think I'm really hoping that that COVID wave is done and we can get back to putting high school kids in school again.
Got a couple of easier ones here for you before we wrap up here, Coach. We had the privilege of going to a game down at Gilbert America last year. And for folks who haven't been down there, how would you kind of just describe the atmosphere and the environment there at a big-time ball game? Because we had a phenomenal time that night at that game.
You need to pull up if you haven't been there. You need to do. It is. So there's only, this is no exaggeration. I'm not trying to pump this town up because this town is so special. There's only been 3 times, I think, in my life on a football field that my breath has been like just taken away. And that was a visit I had as a high school athlete to Auburn and Jordan Hare Stadium. My goodness, it's insane. It's been to my first game at Newberry College. And even though it wasn't huge, but I was there and I was playing and I was in pads. I was, oh my God. And then a couple games in 2019 where we had a 4,000 yard passer who had 4,000 yards, Jai Tolan, 47 scores and 4 picks. And we had multiple 1,000-yard guys. It was crazy. And we played Dillon in the third round of playoffs and lost. And that game, the River Bluff game, the Lexington game, you look up in the stands and I was just like, oh my God. And there's games like that at Gilbert. It's breathtaking. Those fans have blind faith in their, team. They support. They come out on Friday night. They cancel plans. They close down stores. They cancel birthday parties. It is what it is, whatever it takes to be there. And it is the hottest ticket in town. And it's a big deal. And the best part about them, they travel. Like they hop in their cars and they travel. And it's such a special place. It's loud. It's rowdy. It's fun. The band's great. The student section's wild. The parents are even more wild. And it's like the cheer, the dance, everybody is so involved and so great. And really, I think that's one of the greatest things about there, because our kids can turn around and see that and be like, we can't let this down. And so if you haven't been to Gilbert, book a ticket because it's a hot a ticket. Our first home game is against River Bluff. I want to say September the 13th. Don't quote me. But it's going to be crazy in there. And I think our kids are so excited. Our fans are excited about it this year. And I think, trust me, if you haven't been, please come and come again. Please come again. You're more than welcome.
So, Coach, you and the new athletic director, Nicole Amick, made some history at Lexington. One, she being the first female AD in the district, and then you being the first Black head coach in the district. Yeah. How important is that for you, to have that representation, not only for the community, but also for your players? And then we've just seen an increase of African-American coaches getting a chance in this state, especially at marquee jobs. Like, how cool is that for you to experience? And then for you to be in that position, to take that historic step.
It's growth, man. It's growth, right? Like, two, I think a lot of times we focus in on our past. And sometimes when you do that, it blinds you to some of the good things. And things are not perfect. And in some places, things are still a struggle. But I think in this job, it's such a special place because I was the first Black head major sport coach as a basketball coach. I thought that was cool in school of history. But district-wide, it just shows growth. Like we're past all the race and gender defines a job, I think, in our district. But I said this, and I'll say it again. If that's the only history I make here at Gilbert, I think I failed, right? Like that's my mindset. I want to do more, and I want it to be, my focus and job. And I don't want to, will come off as, a civil rights activist or anything at this time, but like, I want it to be okay for anybody else to hire a Black coach again. All right. So my mindset is keep the program clean and making sure that we're upholding the standard that needs to be held, making sure that we push our young men, regardless of race, to bigger and better things, to have our kids be a beacon in the community. So pouring into our younger schools, our middle schools, our elementary schools, and making sure that they see our kids doing the right things in terms of reading and opening car doors and being at all these events. And for me, my family is going to be in the forefront of this because I truly believe I am nothing without my wife and kids. And so the biggest thing is making sure that, this is a cool time to be here, man. I really feel like I sat down, once I got at the job, and I sat down and I was just like, this is crazy. My dad, and he's a funny guy. He thinks he is. And I told him, I said, I'm the first Black coach in district history. And he's like, wow. He said, now don't suck. Oh, thanks, man. Probably, but after that, he said, don't feel this pressure, but know that you have the pressure of future Black coaches on your back. And I'm not talking about wins and losses, but just how you carry yourself in this spot. And so, it's not pressure, because I feel like that's who I am. Like, I'm not going to change me. I'm very excited. I'm very blessed and thankful to Mr. Dixon and everybody that, played a part in letting me have this job. And they'll be very pleased in whatever time frame I judge it, and whether it's 1 year or 10 years, they'll be very pleased. And our AD, Nicole, she's a rock star, bro. She is a Gilbert grad. She plays sports out of Gilbert, and she loves that town, and she loves that school. And so she is excited about just where we're going. And she's perfect to take us there.
Drell and I, we're both big foodies. A lot of times we'll head down early on a Friday and stop somewhere for a good meal before the ball game.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite spots in the Gilbert area we got to check out next time we come down that way?
Well, it's a handful. Yes. Joey's is really good. And Joey's is really good. If you got some time, to sit down and order, everything's made fresh. It's good stuff. There's the store, I like the store for some breakfast. They got some good at breakfast, but definitely prior, to being at a game, there's a nutrition spot called the 5-4. It's really good, great shakes. And so there's a couple places in Gilbert. As we get more people in here, there's going to have to be more stores that pop up. And I think, the best food might be in the parking lot. So it might be in the parking lot. And I've stepped onto the field in pregame and got a whiff of awesome chicken. Oh, this might be good. So there's folks, having a good old time and grilling. So the best thing is go park in the parking lot, try to get a little, a chicken wing, tell them I sent you, and they can get you one, and you should be good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Now, Coach, you took a little shot at Coach Lee part, about, being hip. So we need to know what's on your pregame playlist, what's going to be playing in the locker room, or what are you listening to on your way to the away games?
Oh, God. And so I said hip, and then you asked me that question. So, all right. So look, precursor here. One of these guys that I can listen to anything and be fine. And so I don't like being hyped up. I like just being just even kill. So my favorite, and if you are a 2006 to 2012 high school athlete, swag has to be somewhere on your list.
Always.
If you're not, then you're not listening to the music well. I'm a huge J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar fan. Big Crit as well. I love old school stuff as well. I'm here for R&B, so the old school R&B stuff, some of the new school, so some new edition guys like that, and then some good gospel music soothes the soul, makes you ready to a rock and roll. But I can listen to anything. I can listen to podcasts. Now some of the stuff these kids be listening to, I'm confused, and we allow them to kind of play their music in their locker room, and occasionally I'll listen in and be like, this is garbage. This is hot garbage. But they swear by it, and they know every song. And I tell them, if y'all knew y'all's play as much as we'd be great, but y'all want to act, but y'all want to play. But music is one of my favorite things. I played the trumpet as a young kid. I sang, played the guitar, and my family is musically inclined. So music is I think, can solve a lot of issues and just kind of just put you in a place. And so if you see me at Lexington on week 0, and I'm look, that game, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm gonna be my beats, that bass is gonna be at the peak, it's gonna be loud. I won't be able to hear a single thing nobody's telling me, because I kind of think just for that game, I want to exude all I got in me on that one. So
well, last one here, and I know it's kind of early, Coach. It's just you're here in March still, but have you thought about maybe any of your goals for that 2024 season, or just something you're going to kind of work with as a team and as staff kind of as you get more into spring practice and summer ball as well?
No, I got some already. So one far ahead goal. So I guess postseason after our season's over is have multiple kids sign on a signing day, and that's a huge goal for me. I want multiple kids at that table signing. And then, so going backwards now, I want to be 3-0 in out-of-region play. I think that's very important. I think that's something that we've been so good at under coach, is just being good out-of-region play and playing some tougher teams and being ready. I want to win this region. You know, it's a new region. It's 7 games long, so it's going to be forever. There's no bye weeks either, so it's straight. But I truly think that the team that is best, that's in the best physical and mental shape, is going to last that 7-week stretch. And so I want to put us in the best spot to do that. So, of course, to win our region, and then, you know, play for a state championship. And I think a lot of people think, all right, coach, that's too much now. It's year one, but it's not. It's not too much. I've seen our kids work for 8 years. I've seen our kids work last year. And I know what's back. And so I know if we can maximize our kids and put our kids in the best spot, and we can beat pretty much anybody. And look, there are some teams that may have a better roster. That's fine. I think the coaches are better. And so we got to be, and one of my things I tell myself is if the players are equal, if the stadium is equal, heck, if the jerseys are equal, be the edge. So as a coaching staff, we need to be the edge that edges us across that line. And so that might be in how we prep on Monday, maybe that might be how we tweak practice on a Wednesday, how we take our approach on a Thursday, or how we set our kids up on Friday. Down in 5, out coach on this play. He has a special play that he learned at some clinic here in the spring, and he's going to pull it out. Can we be prepared and ready for it? And so I feel like if our players are giving everything that they can, and as a coaching staff, we are the edge that pushes us over. We already know our fans are going to be the edge as well. So that's kind of our goal. And look, if I made history being the first black head coach, why not make it the first state championship in school history as well? Like, why not us and why not now? And I think let's go, man. Like, I'm really excited, and I hope that y'all can feel that in my conversation. I'm
sure.
geeked. So.
It got me pumped up too, Coach. This has been great. I definitely want everyone to go check out Coach Exume and the Indians program on Twitter /X, Facebook. They do a great job posting highlights and get the kids out there. So definitely go check them out on there. Like I mentioned, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. at Movin Chains. MovinChains.com is our website, and our podcast on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Moving the Chains brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union Drill. Anything else for Coach? We'll let him go tonight.
Obviously want to just give you a big congratulations, on getting this opportunity, making history. So that's awesome. And it's always important for me for that representation. And I know you're not going to suck based on what you've told us today. So don't have to worry about that. Don't have to worry about that. Wish you guys, a healthy spring and off season as you end of the season. Maybe we can catch up with you and give us a little season preview.
Absolutely.
Once you're able to get on the grass and get ready for that 24 campaign.
Yep.
Coach, really appreciate it. Look forward to stopping by practice, meeting you in person, and hopefully catch the game next season. All right.
All right.
Take your financial game to the next level with Founders Federal Credit Union. Reach your full potential. Relax. Join Founders today. Visit an office near you or relaxjoinfounders.com to apply. Federally insured by NCUA, member qualification